Hey guys, tonight we're heading somewhere most maps don't even bother to name properly. A stretch of frozen sea, where daylight can vanish for months and silence hums like static in your ears. You're wrapped in furs that smell faintly of smoke and seal oil, and the air is so cold it tastes metallic. You can hear your breath crackle as it leaves your mouth. Out here, the Arctic isn't just cold. It's a teacher with a very sharp sense of humor. You probably won't survive this, but don't worry, you won't have to. You're only visiting. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, post your location and local time in the comments. It's always fun to see where everyone's listening from. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trudge forward, crunching over snow that squeaks under your boots, and you can almost hear the faint sigh of the Arctic Ocean under its armor of ice. Somewhere in the distance, a dog team yelps, a sound that's part bark, part ghost story. Ahead of you lies a cluster of snow houses, rounded like half-buried moons, smoke curling faintly from one. That's where the warmth is, and where tonight's history begins, with people who learned to turn bone and hide into seaworthy miracles. The Inuit never had the luxury of trees growing tall and straight for easy boat planks. The tundra is stingy with its gifts. No iron, no forges, just wind, snow, and the occasional whale skeleton washed up like the remains of a god. Yet somehow these people mastered the art of the umiak and the kayak, vessels that could cross vast frozen seas and slip silently between ice floes. They did it all without a single metal nail, not because they preferred it that way, but because there was simply no other option. You crouch near the fire where an elder squints through the smoke. He's sharpening a piece of bone, rhythmically, patiently, as if he's whittling time itself. His hands are lined and steady, his parka rimmed with frost. Every motion is efficient. Waste nothing, lose nothing, need nothing that the land cannot provide. That's the Inuit way. It's not just survival, it's artistry under pressure. The fire crackles as he gestures for you to sit. The smell of seal fat burns strong. It's greasy, comforting, oddly sweet. You feel it cling to your clothes. The elder begins to speak, not to you exactly, but to the air, the way people tell stories to the wind so it remembers them. The sea gives, the sea takes, but the sea also breaks, he says softly. His gaze shifts to a shape leaning against the snow wall, a long, low boat made of stretched seal hide, its frame a lattice of driftwood and ribs. One side is torn, a jagged scar where the ice bit through. You realize that every expedition begins and ends with the same ritual, repairing what the ocean has punished. The Inuit became experts at this, rebuilding, stitching, sealing, because every voyage carried the risk of disaster. No nails meant no quick fixes. Instead, they relied on sinew, animal tendons dried and twisted into threads stronger than steel when wet. They used bone needles carved with such care they could pass through hide like silk. And where others might have reached for glue or rivets, they reached for ingenuity. A mainstream fact floats into your mind like snow in a lantern's light. Some umiaks were large enough to carry entire families and their belongings across hundreds of kilometers. These weren't just boats, they were mobile homes, survival vessels in motion. The skin had to stay watertight even when frozen stiff, the seams supple enough to flex with the waves, no room for error. You picture what happens if a stitch fails out there in the black Arctic Sea. Let's just say the rescue service isn't taking calls. The elder's knife flicks again, trimming a strip of hide that will soon become part of the repair.
You notice how he heats it over the lamp flame just enough to soften it. The smell deepens, and you catch yourself thinking it's not so different from the glue gun you used once in art class, except this glue might save your life. A quirky tidbit? Here's one. In some villages, children were told that if they played too loudly near the boat during repair, the spirits of the sea would tangle their voices into the seams and make the boat leak. It sounds silly, but it kept kids quiet, and silence was golden when every pop of hide or hiss of steam told the craftsman something about the vessel's health. Think of it as Arctic parenting meets early sound engineering. The wind moans outside, pushing snow across the opening of the house. You pull your fur tighter and watch as the elder smooths the hide over the frame. His movements slow, deliberate. The light flickers against his face. Historians still argue whether these techniques were born entirely from isolation or if they evolved through ancient contact with northern Siberian peoples who also built hide boats. You think aloud. The elder doesn't answer, of course. He just keeps working, the debate irrelevant to hands that already know truth through repetition. Time stretches. You find yourself hypnotized by the rhythm, the scrape, the pull, the brief sizzle when fat drips into the fire. Outside, the wind moans, pushing snow across the opening of the house. You pull your fur tighter and watch as the elder smooths the hide over the frame. In just the same way that boat has been repaired millions of times. As you watch the elder work, you realize that every repair he makes is a little history lesson. What's the reliability of seal hide as practically frozen? A mainstream fact floats into your mind. Each piece of hide is carefully selected for its thickness and durability, depending on part of the boat it will form. And the seams are tied together so tightly that they remain watertight even when frozen stiff. In just one night? Wait, we're not doing that story tonight. Just let the man show you. You can see in his hands the thin lines of old injections where his body disintegrated during the long casting process, but always came back together when a long time passage ended. I've read a minute. What do? I know you want to relax. The night is about sinew and hide and bone, carved into shapes that Mother Nature never intended. Their techniques allowed them to build seaworthy miracles with nothing but the materials of the land. It will be unforgettable to watch the inscriptions as they repair the boat. The lamp flickers low. Outside, the dogs settle. The wind calms for a heartbeat, and you feel sleep tug at your edges. Tomorrow, the elder will show you how skin, bone, and sinew can do what metal never could.
You wake to the kind of cold that presses down on your eyelids before you even open them. The faint smell of seal oil and smoked meat hangs in the air, proof that someone's been up for hours already. Outside, the sky is a bruised blue, the kind that can't decide if it's dawn or dusk. Around here, light plays tricks. It doesn't rise or fall. It drifts, like a lazy seal deciding whether to surface. You follow the elder again, this time toward a half-buried frame near the water's edge. It's what remains of an umiak, large, open boats used by the Inuit for transporting people, supplies, and occasionally for whaling. Up close, it's less like a boat and more like a skeleton waiting for its skin. Each rib of driftwood has been bent by hand and lashed with sinew, no two pieces exactly alike. There's beauty in the imperfection. It's a living structure, flexible, capable of taking punishment from the sea and surviving to tell the story. The elder kneels beside it and taps one of the ribs. The sound isn't hollow like you expect. It's tight and resonant, like a drum. He grins. You realize he's listening to the boat's mood. If it hums low, the bindings have loosened.
If it rings sharp, it's dry and ready. "You don't fix boats," he finally says in a low voice. "You listen to them until they tell you what they need." That's your first mainstream historical fact of the section. Every single umiak and kayak was unique. Built without blueprints, they were shaped by memory and intuition. Families passed down proportions and bending techniques orally, often measuring with body parts, an arm's length here, a handspan there. Some say the true measure of a skilled builder was how little he spoke while working. You crouch beside him, your breath puffing white, and run your fingers along the frame. It feels impossibly light. You could probably lift it alone. Yet it once carried entire families, sometimes with dogs and supplies, across frigid channels. The secret wasn't strength, it was balance. Weight was evenly distributed, the curved ribs designed to absorb impact. When a wave hit, the frame didn't resist, it flexed. It's a little like those springy phone cases that bounce off the floor while your friend's expensive hardshell one shatters on the first drop. The elder gestures to a pile of skins nearby. These are the outer layers, the flesh of seals, sometimes walrus, or even caribou in inland areas. The process of preparing them is part chemistry, part ritual, part sheer endurance. First, the skin is scraped clean of fat and flesh with a sharp stone or bone scraper. Then it's stretched on a wooden frame and left to dry, sometimes for days. Later, it's rubbed with oil or even chewed to soften it. Imagine the patience that takes. No factory machines, just teeth, hands, and time. A quirky tidbit? The most prized skins weren't necessarily from the biggest seals, but from the ones caught during summer, when their diet made their hides thicker and more elastic. Inuit hunters could tell by touch whether a skin came from a seal that fed mostly on fish or on crustaceans, because the fat composition subtly changed the texture. Try explaining that to a modern materials scientist. They'd probably run a dozen tests to prove what the elder's fingertips already know. You help him lift a seal hide, the edges stiff and translucent. It smells faintly of salt and smoke, the perfume of the Arctic. He spreads it across the frame and shows you how it will be stretched tight, stitched with sinew from caribou or seal. The lacing isn't just functional, it's artistic, looping and crossing in patterns that differ slightly from one builder to another. Somewhere in that lacing is the maker's signature, though no outsider could read it. You notice there's no metal anywhere. No hinges, no nails, no screws. Even the lashings are organic, made from twisted hide, sometimes soaked and dried until they shrink to the perfect tension. The absence of metal feels almost eerie, like standing in a world that never joined the Industrial Revolution. And yet, everything here works. Historians still argue whether the Inuit independently perfected their boat designs, or whether early contact with Norse or Siberian peoples contributed certain ideas. Some archaeologists point to the similarity between Inuit umiaks and certain ancient Siberian skin boats. Others argue that Arctic necessity breeds the same solutions wherever humans try to float on ice-cold water. Either way, the end result was the same. A vessel perfectly adapted to the northern seas, more flexible and often more reliable than wooden ships many times its size. As the elder works, a soft wind picks up, carrying the faint sound of distant dogs. The snow crunches like paper under your knees. You watch his hands move with unhurried rhythm, sliding sinew through pre-punched holes. Each pull makes a faint squeak, almost like the sound of leather gloves rubbing together. You can't help but think that if ASMR existed centuries ago, this would have been its origin. The whisper of thread, the rhythmic creak of hide stretching, and the low hum of someone humming under their breath while repairing the thing that might save their life tomorrow. You try to mimic his stitching, but your fingers are too clumsy in their mittens. You poke through the hide, tearing it slightly. He doesn't scold you. He just smiles and says, "Now the boat remembers you." That's both comforting and mildly terrifying. To ease your embarrassment, you crack a joke. "So, is there like an Inuit version of duct tape for emergencies?" He laughs softly. "Yes," he says, "it's called another seal." He's not entirely joking. When something breaks, the solution is always nearby. Another piece of bone, another strip of hide, another handful of sinew. You begin to understand that repair isn't an act of desperation here. It's a life of way. Everything is meant to be fixed, reused, reborn. Even the boats are designed to come apart easily for transport. A family could dismantle an umiak, load it on sleds, and carry it across land to another hunting site. Try doing that with a modern fiberglass hull. By midday, the frame gleams with new hide, stretched tight enough to drum on. The elder sits back and squints toward the horizon where the ice begins to thin. The sea looks deceptively calm, that mirror-flat surface hiding a depth colder than logic. He nods once, satisfied. Tomorrow, we oil it. You realize this process, this day of quiet work and breath-clouded patience, isn't just about making a boat seaworthy. It's about reaffirming control in a place that constantly reminds you how small you are. Out here, craftsmanship is survival, and survival is art. As you stand, brushing snow from your knees, the sun briefly dips low enough to catch on the ice, scattering light across the horizon like shards of glass. The umiak glows gold against the white, alive again, its stitched seams whispering softly in the wind. You can't help but feel a little proud, like you've helped wake something ancient and patient. And tomorrow, when oil meets hide, you'll learn how even the slickest seas can be kept at bay with nothing more than grease, smoke, and a stubborn refusal to freeze.
The next morning, the world is so still you can hear snowflakes landing. The kind of silence that makes you hesitate to breathe, as if you'll break something sacred. You step outside and see the umiak resting in the half-light, its sealskin sides glinting faintly like stretched amber. Frost feathers have formed overnight, delicate enough to melt from the warmth of your gaze. It's almost finished, but not quite seaworthy. The elder stands beside it, turning something over in his gloved hands. It's a shard of metal, no larger than a coin, smooth and dull from years of salt. He hands it to you without explanation. It's heavier than you expect. A gift from the sea, he says, and you realize it's a fragment from a long-lost ship, European probably. Rusted iron, once part of a nail or hinge. He looks at it with curiosity, not envy. Good for cutting meat, he shrugs. Then he tosses it aside. That's when it hits you. For most of human history, iron has been the dividing line between primitive and advanced. But here, where metal is rarer than sunlight in winter, progress means something else entirely. You crouch next to the umiak and trace a seam with your mitten. Each stitch has the precision of surgery, each lash made to survive months of salt and shifting ice. In other parts of the world, metal nails held everything together. Ships, houses, trade. But here, in this frozen domain, nails were useless unless you had the forge to make them, and firewood wasn't exactly abundant. A single nail could cost as much as a knife, and both were precious enough to spark fights or entire trade agreements. There are journals from 18th century explorers describing how Inuit families traded carved ivory, furs, or even stories for a handful of bent nails. One captain wrote about an Inuit craftsman who carefully pounded the heads off each one, reshaping them into tiny blades for cutting sinew. That's your mainstream historical fact tonight. Metal was treated like gold, but it wasn't essential. It was optional luxury. Still,
Imagine living in a world where every crack in your boat, every loosened seam could mean death, and you can't just grab a wrench or glue gun. You fix things with what you have, and what you have is the Arctic. Bones, skin, snow, stone, and patience. The elder gestures for you to sit. He dips a small brush, made from caribou hair, into a bowl of thick seal oil and begins painting it onto the seams. The smell hits first, rich, earthy, and faintly metallic. You wrinkle your nose, but he only chuckles. The ocean doesn't mind the smell, he says. He's right. The oil waterproofs the boat, soaking into the hide until it glistens. Without it, the umiak would drink seawater like a sponge. You try brushing some yourself, careful not to spill. The oil's warmth, still faintly liquid from the lamp, seeps through the skin and your gloves, sticky and slick. It's funny, you've probably seen eco-friendly seal oil waterproofing sold online for hundreds of dollars, packaged neatly with a Scandinavian label. Here, it's just Tuesday's chore. The elder tells you about the first time he saw metal nails. He says a trader came from the south with a big wooden box full of them. Everyone came to see. They thought we would throw away our bones. He pauses, the corner of his mouth twitching. We did not. Because nails don't flex. Nails don't forgive the sea. They crack under pressure. They rust. They split driftwood that's already rare and brittle. A nailed boat might last one storm, but a stitched one can dance through 20. There's your quirky tidbit for this section. When early traders offered nails, some Inuit communities used them not for construction, but as jewelry. They'd hammer the soft metal flat, polish it, and hang it as decoration. In a world where utility ruled, even useless metal could still find a new purpose, as beauty. You keep brushing oil, the repetitive motion oddly meditative. The elder hums a low tune, something between a lullaby and a work song. You start to lose track of time, the rhythm of your strokes syncing with his voice. The snow begins to fall again, small and unbothered, as if it's seen this scene 1,000 times before. Historians still argue whether the Inuit deliberately avoided using metal nails, even after acquiring them, or if the scarcity simply kept the old methods alive. Some claim practicality ruled. Metal stiffened the frame, making it more likely to snap in ice. Others believe it was cultural pride, an unspoken decision to trust tradition over foreign tools. Whatever the truth, the result is the same. While the rest of the world hammered, the Inuit stitched. You lean back and stretch, watching the oil darken the hide. It gleams like wet stone now, every seam sealed against the elements. The elder runs his hand over it with satisfaction. Now, he says, it remembers the sea. You're starting to suspect everything here remembers something. The people, the boats, even the wind that sighs like an old storyteller. Then he points to a smaller vessel propped nearby, a kayak, sleek and narrow, made for one person. Its surface glows faintly, but unlike the umiak, this one's built for stealth. Hunters could glide silently for hours, the skin whispering over water, the paddle barely breaking the surface. Imagine that. No engines, no metal, just skill and silence. You crouch closer, admiring the craftsmanship. The seams are even finer here, the sinew so tight it looks fused. No leaks, you ask. He smiles, only if you forget to listen. That seems to be the rule for everything here. Boats, people, weather. Listen, or the Arctic will remind you how loud silence can be. You can't resist another joke. So basically, if duct tape existed back then, y'all would be out of a job. He grins without looking up. Maybe, but duct tape doesn't feed you. Touché. By late afternoon, the boat is done. The air smells faintly of oil and salt. You step back, admiring the umiak's strange beauty. Part sculpture, part survival tool. The elder stands quietly beside you, watching the snow gather along the keel. He says, "When the wind changes, we'll test her." You glance toward the horizon, where twilight spreads like ink over the ice. Somewhere out there, whales breathe beneath the surface, their world as alien and vast as your own. Tomorrow, you'll help test a boat stitched together by muscle and faith, one that's never known the clang of a single nail. As you turn back toward the village, you realize something. Metal isn't the measure of civilization. Ingenuity is. And up here, in this white expanse, every repaired seam is a quiet rebellion against the cold.
The next day arrives quietly, with the sort of gray light that seems to come not from the sun, but from the snow itself. You step outside, your breath fogging in the air, and see the umiak resting like a sleeping animal near the frozen shoreline. The skin glows faintly in the morning haze, its seams darkened by the oil you brushed on yesterday. Today is all about what holds it together, not nails, not glue, but the ancient magic of sinew and stitchcraft. The elder is already there, kneeling beside a pile of materials. He holds up a long, pale strand and hands it to you. It looks like translucent rope, flexible yet strong. "Caribou," he says. "Leg sinew. It stretches when wet, tightens when dry, better than any metal." You roll it between your fingers. It's soft at first, then stiffens as it warms in your hand. You can't help but marvel. Thousands of years before synthetic fibers, before Kevlar and nylon, the Inuit were making their own living thread out of what nature provided. That's your first mainstream historical fact. Sinew, the tough connective tissue that holds muscle to bone, was one of the Arctic's most valuable materials. It wasn't just for sewing boats. It was used in clothing, weapon bindings, sled lashings, and even musical instruments. In a world where nothing could be wasted, every tendon had a destiny. The elder sets a bowl of warm water nearby, and as he dips the sinew into it, you notice it turns a shade darker, almost golden. Then he threads it through a needle carved from bone, sleek, polished, with an eye so small you'd miss it if you blinked. The needle's edge glints faintly in the light. "Whalebone," he says. "Harder than wood, but still bends. It listens." You start laughing. You say, "Everything here listens." He grins. "That's why it survives." The process looks simple, but there's an art to it. The sinew must be pulled just tight enough, not so much that it cuts into the hide, but not so loose that it leaks. The elder's hands move with hypnotic precision, the same rhythm over and over: pierce, pull, smooth, tie. The stitches are diagonal, overlapping slightly, forming a subtle pattern across the skin. It's not just functional, it's beautiful. You can see how a skilled builder could recognize another's handiwork just by the curve of the seam. He lets you try. You fumble, of course. The sinew snags, twists, and somehow ties itself into what can only be described as a tiny knot of shame. The elder watches silently for a moment, then gently takes it from your hands and untangles it with a patience that could thaw glaciers. He says softly, "You have to breathe with it. Sinew remembers your hands." That line hits you in a way you don't expect. You try again, slower this time, syncing your movements to your breath. The sinew slides through the hide more smoothly, and the stitch tightens neatly. You grin like a kid who's just managed their first shoelace. As you work, he tells you stories about how sinew was harvested. Hunters would strip it carefully from the backs and legs of animals, dry it, and then split it into fibers by hand. Women would twist those fibers into long cords, sometimes singing as they worked to keep the rhythm even. It could take hours to prepare enough thread for a single boat. The sound of sinew being split, he says, is a soft, tearing whisper, the heartbeat of Arctic craftsmanship. Your quirky tidbit of the section? Some Inuit families believe that sinew taken from a particularly strong animal, like a wolf or a bear, carried part of its spirit. Using it for boat repairs was considered lucky, lending the vessel the animal's endurance. You imagine paddling across the Arctic Ocean with a little piece of wolf strength holding your boat together. Not bad insurance. The elder shows you another technique. Cross-stitching sinew through two overlapping hides, sealing the seam between them. He uses a tool shaped like a small curved awl, made of course from more bone. Metal tears, he explains. Bone slides. That's the second time you've heard that word today, slides. Everything here is meant to slide, not resist. The wind, the ice, the sea, they can't be fought, only negotiated with. Historians still argue whether sinew stitching originated independently among Arctic peoples, or if it evolved from an older Siberian leatherworking tradition. Some say the idea came naturally. Every hunter sees how tendons hold flesh together, so why not mimic that in design? Others believe ancient migrations carried both the knowledge and the reverence for animal materials across the Bering Strait. Either way, the technology never needed improvement. Even modern Arctic survival gear borrows from it. Flexible seams, natural tension, silent durability. The elder hums as he works. The sound blends with the whisper of snowflakes hitting the boat skin. There's a rhythm to this moment. Thread through hide, pull taut, knot, repeat. You can almost hear the heartbeat of centuries in the pattern. To lighten the mood, you mutter, "If this was a sewing tutorial on YouTube, I'd be the one asking if duct tape counts as fabric." He smirks. "Duct tape freezes," he says simply, and that's that. When the last seam is done, he dips his fingers into seal oil again and smooths it over the stitching. The sinew beckons slightly, sealing itself further. He says, "The oil feeds it." You think of how modern materials rot or rust, how adhesives peel and crack, but sinew, when cared for, actually strengthens over time. It's alive in a way metal never could be. He motions for you to lift the boat with him. Together, you tilt it, testing the tension. The skin creaks softly, then settles. No give, no leak, just quiet confidence. It feels alive, like it's breathing beneath your hands. Then the elder does something unexpected. He taps the side of the boat with the back of his hand, producing a hollow tone. He says, "She speaks." If the sound changes, something's loose. You realize this isn't superstition, it's science by instinct. He's diagnosing the boat through sound, like a mechanic with a stethoscope made of snow. The sky darkens again, and snow begins to drift heavier now. The umiak gleams faintly under the soft light, every stitch glistening like frozen veins. You step back, flexing your stiff fingers, and feel oddly proud. You've stitched something that might actually float. A rare feat for someone whose last craft project probably involved hot glue. The elder nods toward the horizon, where the frozen sea meets the pale sky. He says, "Tomorrow, we give it blood." You blink. Blood? He smiles faintly. The sea doesn't like dry seams. You laugh nervously, assuming it's a metaphor. But something in his expression tells you that tomorrow's lesson might be messier than today's. And in this place, messy usually means effective. You follow him back to the village, the wind whistling through bone frames and hide walls. The snow crunches under your boots like sugar. Behind you, the umiak waits, stitched and sealed, its sinew threads drying in the cold air, preparing for the next stage, the one that makes it truly waterproof, truly alive.
The next morning smells faintly of smoke and salt, and something sharper, metallic. When you step outside, the wind carries the tang of the sea, biting through your scarf like it knows you're not from here. The elder is already crouched by the umiak, a shallow bowl of dark, viscous liquid beside him. It's steaming faintly in the cold, and you don't have to get close to know what it is. Blood. Seal blood, thickened slightly with oil. You hesitate, but the elder gestures calmly. For the seams, he says, not for you. Good to clarify. He dips his fingers into the mixture and begins rubbing it carefully into the joints where sinew meets hide. The motion is slow, circular, deliberate. It stains the boat a deep red brown, and you can't decide whether it looks like war paint or a kind of offering. Either way, it's strangely beautiful. Seal blood, he explains, was once used as a natural sealant. When mixed with certain oils or even moss ash, it thickens and darkens as it dries, helping to fill microscopic gaps in the stitching. The proteins in the blood react with the cold air, forming a thin, rubbery layer that keeps water out and flexibility in. You didn't expect your bedtime story to include a bit of biochemistry, but there you go. That's your first mainstream historical fact tonight. The Inuit used blood, fat, and oil, not just as fuel or food, but as versatile engineering materials. From waterproofing hides to preserving ropes, they knew exactly how to make the Arctic's abundance of organics do what factory chemistry wouldn't accomplish for centuries. The elder catches your expression and chuckles softly. You look like someone told you your coffee has seal oil in it. You grin awkwardly. So, this is like the Arctic version of epoxy? He nods, except it smells worse, and it feeds the spirits. Fair point. As the two of you work, you notice the texture of the mixture changing. The oil and blood start to congeal, forming a smooth layer. The smell is intense. Iron, salt, something earthy underneath. You suppress a gag, and the elder pretends not to notice. The sea knows its own, he murmurs, as though that explains everything. Maybe it does. He tells you about the early days, when families would gather during seal season to prepare these mixtures in bulk. They'd render fat in stone lamps until it turned to clear oil, then mix in finely crushed ash or even powdered bone to thicken it. Each family had their own recipe, guarded like a secret sauce. Some used soot from lamps, others added moss fibers for texture. The exact composition depended on what was available, and apparently on who had the best luck on the water last season. You lean in to help, dabbing the mixture with a piece of soft hide. It seeps into the seams, darkening them. The hide of the boat feels warmer now, like it's absorbing something vital. You imagine the umiak as a living creature again, drinking up its blood to strengthen itself. It's both eerie and comforting. Here's your quirky tidbit for this section. A few explorers who documented these repair techniques in the 1800s were so impressed by the seal blood waterproofing that they tried to replicate it using cow blood and fish oil. It failed spectacularly. The Arctic cold was part of the formula. Without that freezing wind to set the mixture just right, it turned rancid instead of sealing. The moral? You can't copy a recipe without understanding the kitchen. You take a break to flex your fingers, sticky and red from the mixture. The elder offers you a piece of dried fish, as if that'll help. It doesn't, but you chew politely anyway, trying not to imagine your manicure situation later. Historians still argue whether this blood oil method originated purely from necessity or if it carried ritual meaning. Some anthropologists suggest it symbolized giving life back to the sea, the very thing that gave it in the first place. Others think it was simply an ingenious form of maintenance refined by observation over centuries. Either way, there's an undeniable poetry in the act. You hunt a creature, then use part of its essence to keep you safe on the hunt again. A circle of survival that would make any sustainability consultant weep into their spreadsheet. When the elder finishes coating the seams, he stands slowly, brushing his hands on the snow. The umiak gleams now, dark and rich, like wet leather. It looks almost regal under the pale light. Now it's ready, he says. The sea won't drink from it. You nod, impressed. And if it still leaks? He shrugs.
Then we listen. He walks towards the shore, testing the ice with his staff. You follow carefully, your boots crunching like brittle sugar. The tide is just starting to shift beneath the frozen crust, a faint creak rising from below. He points to where thin ribbons of water gleam between sheets of ice. There, he says, tomorrow we test her there. The boat rests half on snow, half on the edge of the frozen shore. The contrast is striking. This handmade, blood-sealed craft waiting beside a sea that could kill you in 10 minutes flat. Yet the elder seems utterly calm, like someone about to have tea rather than risk hypothermia. You crouch beside the umiak and run your hand along one of the seams. The surface feels slick, but not wet, more like waxed leather. You can see your reflection faintly, distorted by the ripples of the hide. You wonder how many generations of hands have done exactly this, checking, smoothing, trusting. To lighten the mood, you glance at the elder and ask, "So, what happens if I fall in tomorrow?" He gives you a deadpan look. You'll find out how fast your ancestors can swim. You laugh, but a small part of you suspects he's only half joking. As the day fades, you both sit on a piece of driftwood, watching the horizon turn from silver to a dusky violet. The umiak sits between you and the sea, a quiet witness to your shared work. The wind has softened, but you can still hear the ice shifting beneath the surface, a sound somewhere between a sigh and a growl. You realize how everything here, blood, oil, sinew, bone, is part of a single conversation between humans and nature. Nothing wasted, nothing taken without purpose. Even the act of repairing isn't just maintenance, it's gratitude. The Inuit didn't patch boats because they feared failure. They did it because they respected endurance. By the time you head back towards the village, the world has gone dark except for the faint glow of seal oil lamps flickering through the snow walls. You glance over your shoulder once more at the umiak. It sits quietly, gleaming faintly under the aurora that has begun to stir above. Threads of green ripple across the sky, mirrored in the skin of the boat. Tomorrow, it will meet the water again, stitched, sealed, and blood-bound. And you'll be there, watching it glide into a sea that takes no mercy, but gives back a strange kind of peace to those who earn its trust.
The wind has calmed overnight, and when you wake, the air feels heavy with waiting. The world outside glows with a kind of cautious silver, the hour before the sun commits to rising. You step outside, boots crunching on the packed snow, and there it is, the umiak, gleaming, taut, and patient. Today's the day it meets the water again. The elder is already there, standing by the boat like a priest before a ceremony. His breath leaves small ghosts in the air. Around you, other villagers gather silently, their parkas rustling softly. No one speaks at first. Even the dog seems subdued, watching the scene with the same quiet reverence. You realize this isn't just a test, it's a ritual. The umiak sits half on the frozen sand, half on the lip of the ice. Its hide gleams a deep mahogany hue from the layers of seal oil and blood. The seams are dark and firm. You can still see faint fingerprints along the sides, yours among them. You don't say anything, but it feels strangely personal, like you've left a piece of yourself stitched into that frame. The elder nods toward you. Come. Together, you lift one end of the umiak. It's lighter than you expect, the bones of driftwood creaking softly, sinew flexing with every shift. Others join in, and with careful, synchronized movements, you all carry it toward the open patch of water. The ice gives a low moan beneath your boots, a reminder that this world has opinions about everything. When the keel finally touches the water, the elder pauses. He places one gloved hand on the side of the boat and murmurs a few words too low for you to catch. Maybe it's a blessing. Maybe it's just habit, Either way, it feels important. Then he looks at you and smiles. You push. You hesitate, of course you do, but he gestures again, amused. She won't bite. You brace yourself and give the umiak a firm shove. It slides across the ice edge like silk, settling onto the dork surface with a soft splash. The ripples then still. The boat floats perfectly. Not a leak, not a groan. Just stillness, as if it belongs there more than it ever did on land. That's your first mainstream historical fact of the night. The Inuit often launched repaired boats through thin ice or slush, not open water. It was safer. The cold layer beneath the surface was gentler on new seams, and the floating ice could catch the boat if something went wrong. A kind of natural safety net, courtesy of the Arctic itself. The elder steps carefully into the umiak, testing its balance. The hide shifts slightly under his weight, but doesn't sink. He gestures for you to join him. Every instinct in your modern heat-loving body screams no, but curiosity wins. You step in slowly, trying not to think about the icy water inches below. The hide beneath your boots flexes slightly, alive, resilient. It's like standing on a breathing animal. He hands you a paddle, carved from driftwood and bone. It's smooth from years of use, the handle darkened by countless hands. Together, you push off gently. The boat glides. The sound is almost musical, the whisper of the paddle cutting through slush, the faint squeak of sinew tightening with each movement. For a moment, the entire world seems to hold its breath. The horizon stretches endlessly, a pale wash of gray and white. The sea mirrors the sky so perfectly that you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. You half expect to fall upward instead of downward if you slip. Then, as the older adjusts his paddle, the umiak dips slightly, testing the repair's strength. A faint creak rises from the ribs of the boat. You tense. He grins. She talks. That phrase again. Boats that speak. You lean closer, listening. The sound is almost conversational, like wood and sinew settling into agreement with the sea. Every groan is measured, predictable. The elder explains that those noises aren't signs of weakness, they're signs of balance. He says, if it were quiet, I'd be worried. That's one way to put it. I usually worry when things start creaking. He chuckles. That's how you know you're new. The current nudges the umiak gently. You feel the subtle pulse of the sea beneath your feet. It's not hostile. It's alive, curious. You start to understand the reverence in the elder's silence. Up here, water isn't just an element, it's a presence. Historians still argue whether early Inuit whaling techniques evolved from small game hunting or if they emerged independently as communities migrated north. What's certain is that these boats, umiaks, kayaks, and their countless variations were essential to survival. Entire families could travel across treacherous seas in vessels made from little more than skin, bone, and belief. The whaling expeditions weren't just about food, they were about identity. A successful hunt was proof that the people and the sea were still on speaking terms. You dip your paddle into the water again, feeling resistance like liquid glass. The elder's movements are slow and sure. Every push moves you further from the ice edge. The umiak feels alive underfoot, adapting to every shift in current. It's easy to imagine how a dozen paddlers could maneuver such a craft through ice floes and across open channels, the rhythm of their strokes like a heartbeat against the horizon. Then a sharp sound, crack, echoes nearby. You flinch. The elder doesn't move. Just the ice breathing, he says calmly. You nod, pretending that explanation doesn't make it worse. You can't help but think this entire repair process, all the oil and sinew and blood, wasn't just practical, it was intimate. A partnership between human and material, trust stitched into every joint. You remember your first awkward stitches yesterday, the elder's voice telling you to breathe with the sinew. Now, watching the umiak glide effortlessly across the frigid water, you understand what he meant. Everything built with patience here carries a kind of soul. Your quirky tidbit of the night. Some Inuit communities gave their umiaks names, just like Europeans named ships. But unlike the Endeavor or the Discovery, their names translated more like she floats softly or seal's breath. Modest, personal, and deeply respectful. Because a boat wasn't just transport, it was a companion. You look down at your reflection in the water, distorted by ripples. The surface looks almost solid, yet the thought of what's beneath makes your stomach twist. You glance at the elder. "You ever fall in?" He grins, showing teeth as white as the horizon. "Once?" You wait for him to elaborate. He doesn't. Eventually, you turn back toward shore. The current helps you, nudging you like an approving parent. As the umiak slides back onto the ice again, the crowd waiting there murmurs softly. You can tell from their expressions that the boat has passed its test. The elder steps out and pats the hide once, as if congratulating an old friend. You follow him onto land, your legs wobbly from balancing on the water's pulse. The air feels heavier now, the cold biting deeper, but you're warm from within, a quiet satisfaction blooming behind your ribs. The umiak gleams beside you, unbothered, seaworthy once more. The elder glances at you. "Now," he says, "you know how to listen." You look back toward the silent water, half expecting it to whisper something in return. Maybe it does. Maybe that's the trick. You have to stop talking long enough to hear it.
By the next day, the umiak has dried in the pale sun, its skin taut and gleaming like cured leather. You walk past it on your way to the shore and realize the repairs are so seamless now that you can barely find your own stitches. The elder is sitting beside it again, carving something small and pale in his hands. It looks like bone, though so smooth it could almost be ivory. He looks up as you approach, his knife still moving. "The sea brought this back last summer," he says. "Old whalebone, from a story that's not finished yet." You sit down in the snow beside him, trying to ignore how your knees instantly protest. "You find a lot of that?" He nods. "Whales die far away, but their bones travel. They wash up when the tides are in the right mood." He flips the carving over and begins scraping along the edge, small curls of bone falling into his lap. "Sometimes," he adds with a faint smile, "they even bring gifts." That's your first mainstream historical fact tonight. For centuries, Inuit whalers and boat builders depended on driftwood and whalebone for tools and frames. The Arctic tree line sits far to the south, which meant that any wood arriving on these shores had drifted for months, sometimes years, from Siberia or Alaska. A single log could travel over 1,000 miles, guided by ocean currents and luck. When it arrived, people treated it with reverence. It was the rarest kind of treasure, wood that crossed oceans on its own. The elder tells you how each piece of driftwood carried its own story. The curve of a branch might suggest the bow of a kayak. The twist of a trunk could dictate the frame of a sled. No one cut wood into shape here. You listened to what it already wanted to be. It's an old philosophy of cooperation rather than dominance, one that modern designers might call biomimicry, but the Inuit simply called good sense. As he works, you notice other pieces scattered near him. Fragments of old whale ribs, smoothed by water, a vertebra polished into a shallow bowl, and even what looks like a handle carved from a narwhal tusk. Each one is a tool, a memory, and an art form at once. Your quirky tidbit for this section. Archaeologists once found a full umiak skeleton made entirely of whalebone, lashed with rawhide, believed to have been built when driftwood was scarce after a harsh season. It was smaller than average, but perfectly functional, essentially a sailing ghost of the animal it came from. Some say it was built in gratitude to the whale that had fed the village. Others think it was pure necessity. Either way, you can't deny the poetry. The elder finishes carving and hands you the piece. It's a small toggle, maybe for a rope or a net. The bone is warm from his hands, etched with faint lines of decoration, a fish, a wave, a symbol that looks suspiciously like a question mark. "For luck," he says, as if that needs explanation. You turn it over in your palm, marveling at its weight. "You ever run out of luck?" you ask. He laughs, the sound crackling like driftwood in a fire. "Of course, that's how you know it's working." Around you, the sea murmurs against the shore, half frozen but restless. You can see where the tide has carried up new debris overnight, seaweed, ice shards, and something dark half buried in snow. The elder notices it too, and walks over, brushing at it with his boot. It's a log, small but solid, salt-bleached and battered smooth. He kneels, touches the grain with something like affection. "This one came a long way," he says softly. "It smells of birch and distance." He gestures for you to lift one end, and together you haul it closer to the boat. "Wood like this," he explains, "can last for generations if you treat it right. My grandfather's kayak, still strong when I was a boy. No metal, just driftwood and patience." You picture that. An entire lineage of crafts, each repair passing through hands like a secret handshake. It makes you realize how every umiak here is a record of survival, part of a history written not on paper, but in skin, sinew, and tide. Historians still argue whether the use of whalebone in construction was purely pragmatic or had spiritual undertones. Some say it was an offering, a way of honoring the creature by allowing its body to keep serving the living. Others think it was simple efficiency, use what the sea gives. The truth, as usual, probably drifts somewhere in between. The elder straightens and glances toward the horizon. The sea is calm now, broken only by slabs of floating ice. He squints at a distant shape, something like a dark fin slicing through the light. "You see that?" he asks. You nod. "That's a story too." You watch as the shape glides and then disappears. "Whale?" He grins. "Or a rock pretending to be one. The sea likes to tease." The villagers laugh when he says it, but no one looks away for long. Out here, anything moving on the water demands respect, whether it's alive or not. The older tells you a story then, half history, half legend, about the time a massive whale washed ashore long ago. They said its bones were so big that the ribs looked like the arches of a cathedral. The people took the bones and built a shelter around them, lining the gaps with sealskin. It lasted for years, surviving storms that flattened other huts. "We slept inside a whale and dreamed of the sea," he says softly. You imagine that, the sound of the wind moaning through the hollow bones, the sea outside whispering like a lullaby. It's a strange image, both eerie and comforting. You ask whether that story's true. The elder shrugs. "All stories are true, some just haven't happened yet." You can't tell if he's teasing you, but the idea lingers as you both sit by the umiak again. He begins to polish the toggle he gave you with a bit of seal fat, explaining how the oil keeps bone from cracking in the cold. You listen to the soft scrape of the cloth against the surface, the sound hypnotic. He tells you that once, during a long famine, people believed the driftwood stopped coming because the spirits were angry, so they carved small wooden boats, set them adrift with offerings, fish bones, scraps of hide, even strands of hair, hoping to coax the sea into generosity again. Weeks later, the tides returned full of driftwood. Whether coincidence or miracle, no one questioned it. Sometimes, he says, the sea listens better than people. You nod, running your thumb over the polished toggle. It catches the faint sunlight, glinting like ivory. "You really think the sea has moods?" you ask. He chuckles. "Don't you?" You think about it. The calm days that lull you into safety, the sudden squalls that tear through without warning, The way the tide hums against the shore like breathing. Yeah, maybe it does. Maybe it's always listening, waiting for someone to speak the right language. As the day fades, the elder tucks the tools away and the umiak rests again in quiet strength. You feel an odd mix of exhaustion and wonder, like you've been learning a song you didn't know you already knew. The smell of seal oil and driftwood lingers on your hands, and the sea's rhythm follows you even as you walk back towards the huts. Behind you, the elder hums something low, almost tuneless, a melody that sounds like water rubbing against bone. It carries on the wind long after you can't see him anymore, blending with the whisper of the waves and the soft crackle of distant ice shifting in its sleep.
By now, you've fallen into the rhythm of the settlement, the slow waking, the quiet work, the pauses that stretch longer than sentences. The umiak sits proudly near the shore, a survivor made from sinew and blood and stories. But today, there's a different kind of murmur around camp. It's quieter, tighter. You can feel the tension even before anyone says a word. You spot the elder near the blubber racks, tightening a line. His face looks thoughtful, distant. When you approach, he nods toward the horizon, where the gray-blue sea meets the paler sky. "Visitors," he says simply. You squint. At first, you see nothing. Then, there it is, a faint dot, like a dark tooth on the edge of the water. A ship, wooden, tall, unnatural against the vast emptiness. He sighs, adjusts the rope again. They come when the ice breaks early, always looking, always trading. That's your first mainstream historical fact for tonight. By the 16th and 17th centuries, Inuit communities along the Arctic coast occasionally traded with European whalers and explorers, Dutch, English, Danish, and later American crews pushing north in search of oil and bone. Metal goods, knives, needles, small tools were among the most prized items exchanged. Yet the relationship was complicated, sometimes generous, sometimes disastrous. The elders still talk about the first time a nail was traded for seal oil. It was treated like a sacred artifact, a strange glittering thing that didn't break, didn't rot, didn't sing when struck against bone. It could punch holes through wood faster than a carved owl, and it didn't need to be replaced each season. To those who'd built for generations without metal, it was both a marvel and a threat. You watch as the ship drifts closer, its sails like dirty snow. The elder's voice is calm, but his eyes stay fixed on the horizon. "We used to think their boats were alive too," he says softly. "All those sounds, all that creaking, like whales made of trees." You laugh quietly, but he doesn't. And when they came, they brought the future in their pockets. You follow him to the shore, where several villagers are gathering, their parkas gleaming in the weak sunlight. The umiak is ready again, drawn up on the edge of the ice. They'll paddle out just far enough to trade. A few bundles lie ready, furs, carved ivory toggles, and small bags of dry fish. In return, they hope for what they can't find here: metal, perhaps cloth, or something equally rare. The elder takes a piece of driftwood from his pocket, shaped like a small paddle. He rubs it once between his fingers. "We trade stories too," he says. "They give us new ones to tell." When the umiak slides into the water, you're among the few who watch from shore. The rhythmic paddling carries it toward the ship, a fragile speck against the massive hull. You can see figures leaning over the railing, pale shapes, bundled in thick coats, waving. It's strange how different and similar they seem all at once. You wonder what the first meetings were like centuries ago, before shared words existed. How do you barter when your languages don't overlap? How do you decide what a piece of steel is worth to someone who's never seen it before? Historians still argue whether those early exchanges were fair or exploitative. Some journals from whaling expeditions describe the Inuit as eager traders, while Inuit oral histories remember moments of confusion and loss, the sense of giving too much for too little. Still, trade persisted. Iron knives replaced stone ones, metal needles made sinew sewing faster, and nails, those strange, perfect little spikes, found their way into umiak repairs. You'd think that would change everything, but as the elder later explains, it didn't. We used their nails, but we still trusted the sinew more. That's your quirky tidbit for tonight. Many Inuit craftsmen preferred bone or driftwood pegs even after acquiring iron nails, because metal stiffened the hide too much in freezing temperatures. A nailed seam might crack, where a stitched one would flex. In other words, technology wasn't always an upgrade. It just meant more choices. You stand there watching the exchange unfold across the water. The ship's crew lowers a small crate, and the umiak paddlers offer up their bundles in return. There's laughter, a few shouted words that no one fully understands. When the umiak turns back, the crate rests in its center, gleaming faintly. By the time it reaches shore, curiosity has turned the quiet crowd into a semicircle of leaning bodies. The elder opens the crate carefully. Inside, a small assortment of metal goods, some rusted, some polished, a knife, a coil of wire, a handful of nails. And at the bottom, wrapped in cloth, a steel owl that catches the light like captured lightning. Everyone leans closer, whispering. You can see the mix of awe and suspicion in their faces. The elder lifts the owl, tests its weight, and nods approvingly. "This one will make clean holes," he says. Then he sets it down beside the umiak, where the bone needles rest. But the old ways stay. It's a subtle declaration, but it carries weight. No one argues. The nails might be easier, the tools sharper, but there's something sacred about the patience of sinew and hide. It's not just practicality, it's identity. The act of sewing by hand, of feeling the rhythm of the stitch, connects generations in a way that a metal spike never could. You think of how modern technology always promises to make life easier, but rarely makes it richer. Maybe the Inuit understood something we keep forgetting. Progress isn't just about adding, it's about knowing what not to lose. As the day drifts on, the visitor's ship lingers just offshore, its sails slack. You can smell the faint hint of smoke and tar from it carried on the wind. A few villagers exchange cautious waves. Then, as the tide turns, the ship creaks and begins to move away. No one follows, no one chases. It came, it offered, it left, like a migrating bird on the wrong route. The elder sits again beside the umiak, tapping one of the metal nails thoughtfully against the frame. It makes a soft ringing sound, cold and clean. "They think this is strength," he says, "but metal doesn't bend." You raise an eyebrow. "That's kind of the point, isn't it?" He smiles without looking up. "Exactly." The nail glints in the pale light before he sets it aside. A boat should move with the sea, not fight it. That's how it lives. You glance toward the horizon, where the ship is now a fading smudge. You can't help but wonder how those sailors will describe this encounter when they return home. Maybe they'll write about natives of the ice with clever hands and strange materials. Maybe they'll marvel at how anyone can survive without iron. Or maybe, if they're honest, they'll realize they were the ones learning something out here. When night finally arrives, the wind shifts. The scent of salt and oil drifts through the camp again. The umiak gleams beside its crate of foreign treasures, untouched for now. The elder hums softly as he rewraps the owl and nails, tucking them away where they won't rust in the cold. You sit beside him in silence, watching your breath fade into the dark. Somewhere out on the frozen horizon, the ship disappears behind a ridge of mist. And here, in its wake, nothing feels changed, and yet everything does. The old world and the new have brushed against each other like ice flows, just enough to leave marks that will never fully fade.
The days stretch longer now, the sun lingering just a little higher before dipping back beneath the horizon. You start to lose track of time. It's as though the light itself is tired of keeping a schedule. The umiak sits repaired and ready, but no one seems in a rush to take it out again. Instead, the village slips into a quieter rhythm. Nets are mended, tools are sharpened, and when the wind rises, everyone retreats into the low, snow-walled huts that hold the heat and the stories both. Tonight, the elder leads you into one of those huts, a rounded shape, half buried in snow and lined with furs. Inside, it smells of smoke, tallow, and faintly of salt. It's warmer than you expected, but not uncomfortably so. A small oil lamp flickers in the center, the flame trembling in its bowl of carved soapstone. Shadows ripple across the curved ceiling like waves. "This," he says quietly, "is where boats are born again." He gestures toward a low workbench made of driftwood and bone. On it sits a half-finished kayak frame, its ribs exposed and elegant. A single sinew thread hangs loose from one joint, waiting. You kneel beside it, feeling the air hum with focus. The hut muffles all outside noise, the wind, the sea, even your own heartbeat. It's not silence exactly, but a deep kind of listening. That's your first mainstream historical fact of this section. Traditional Inuit workshops were often built inside or attached to dwellings, using body heat and lamp warmth to keep sinew supple. The low ceilings and snow-packed walls trapped moisture, preventing hide and wood from cracking in the dry Arctic air. You could work for hours without freezing your fingers off, a rare luxury in a place that doesn't believe in comfort. The elder sits down cross-legged beside the frame and hands you a needle. "Try," he says simply. You take it, thread it through the sinew, and push carefully through a small pre-made hole. The motion feels deliberate, almost meditative. Every stitch squeaks faintly, the hide flexing under pressure. You notice how the elder's eyes follow not the needle, but your breathing. "Steady," he murmurs. "Boats know when you're impatient." You can't help smiling at that. Boats know everything, huh? He grins. "Everything that matters." The two of you work in near silence. The lamp crackles softly as the flame leans, fed by a dab of seal oil. The hut smells faintly sweet now, like burning bone. Each pull of sinew draws the joint tighter until the hide sings, a thin, vibrating note, sharp but pleasing. The elder taps the seam once with his fingertip and nods. "Good, she's listening now." That phrase again, boats as listeners. It's starting to make sense. You can almost feel the structure beneath your hands responding to touch, flexing like muscle. It's easy to forget that this isn't just craftsmanship, it's a relationship. Your quirky tidbit for this section: some Inuit repair huts were said to breathe. As animal fat lamps burned, they warmed the air and softened the snow walls, which occasionally shifted just enough to make a faint inhaling sound. Early explorers described it as eerie, as if the workshop itself were alive, exhaling slowly with the craftsman's movements. You can almost hear it now, a soft rhythm under the crackle of flame. The elder breaks the quiet by humming, a slow, deep sound, the kind that fills spaces without echo. "My grandfather used to sing to the boats, to remind them they belong to us, and we to them." You glance at him. "You think that works?" He chuckles. "It worked for him. That's enough."
Historians still argue whether those songs were purely functional, helping paddlers keep rhythm, or had spiritual purpose, binding the craft to its maker. But if you listen closely in this hut, where the shadows dance like tidewater and the sinew hums with each pull, it's hard to deny the power of ritual. Even repetition feels sacred here. You take another turn with the sinew. The thread pulls tight and your fingers ache slightly from the effort. The elder watches without comment, his gaze patient, like he's measuring not your technique, but your willingness to stay still long enough to get it right. After a while, he reaches for a small bowl near the lamp. Inside, a mixture of ash and oil. He dabs his finger into it and rubs the mixture gently over the new seam. To keep it strong, he explains, and to remind it that it's part of something larger. You wonder if he means the boat or you. Maybe both. There's a sound outside, just the faint groan of shifting ice, but in this hut it feels amplified, resonant. You pause mid-stitch, and the elder smiles. That, he says, is the sea saying thank you. You laugh softly, pretty polite for a sea. He shrugs. It depends on the day. As you continue stitching, your thoughts drift. It's strange how this slow, meticulous work, thread through hole, pull, knot, feels almost hypnotic. The rhythm dulls your awareness of time. You start to breathe and sync with your hands, each motion soothing, each knot like punctuation in a story you didn't realize you were telling. At one point, the elder picks up a narrow blade, its edge gleaming faintly. It's one of the new iron tools from the traders. He uses it to trim a piece of sinew, then sets it aside with surprising care. Good, he says, but not better. You understand what he means. The steel cuts faster, yes, but the old bone knife, blunt, deliberate, cuts with patience. It forces awareness. It demands respect for every slice. Maybe efficiency isn't always wisdom. You finish your seam, tie off the sinew, and lean back. The boat's frame gleams in the lamplight, the pattern of stitches like veins beneath translucent skin. The elder nods approvingly. She'll remember your hands, he says. I hope she remembers them kindly. She will. You didn't hurry her. Outside, the wind rises again, sifting snow against the hut. The light from the lamp flickers, shrinking the shadows, softening the edges of everything. You feel a kind of calm that's hard to describe, a steadiness born of repetition and quiet work. It's the kind of peace that only happens when every motion means something. The elder reaches forward and adjusts the lamp's wick. This is how we fix what breaks, he murmurs, not by force, but by listening. You let that settle. The world outside the hut may be frozen and merciless, but in here, surrounded by breath and sinew and firelight, it feels almost kind. Eventually, he stands, stretches, and gestures toward the doorway. Enough for tonight. The boats need to rest too. When you step outside, the cold slaps your face, sharp and invigorating. The aurora is faint tonight, a soft smear of green brushing the horizon like watercolor. The sea lies still beneath it, black and endless. You glance back once at the glowing hut. It looks small, but alive, its faint plume of smoke twisting upward into the stars. You realize, not for the first time, that this isn't just about fixing boats. It's about keeping promises to ancestors, to the sea, to the quiet craft that holds your weight when the world turns hostile. The repairs are just another kind of language, one that speaks softly but endures. The elder walks beside you toward the sleeping village, his steps light, his breath slow. Tomorrow, he says, we finish her ribs. Then, after a pause, you did well. You smile, your breath frosting in the air. Guess I'm learning to listen too. He chuckles. Good. The sea likes good listeners.
Morning unfolds in slow motion. The cold presses against your face before your eyes even open, a reminder that here, comfort is optional. Outside, a low hum drifts across the settlement. People waking, stoking lamps, stretching beneath fur blankets. You follow the sound of voices and find the community already gathered near the shore, surrounding the umiak you helped mend. The sea is still glassy, the air crisp enough to make every word visible as vapor. You might expect a ceremony, some formal declaration that the boat is ready, but there's none of that. Just quiet talk, a few teasing jokes, and the occasional clatter of tools. Still, you can feel it in the air. This is more than maintenance. It's communion. The umiak isn't owned by anyone in particular. It belongs to everyone who touches it, everyone who trusts it to carry them across water that doesn't forgive mistakes. That's your first historical fact of the section. Inuit boats were often communal property, shared between families. Repairs weren't just mechanical, they were social obligations. Each stitch carried a name, each strip of hide a story. No one wanted to be the one who skipped their turn at mending, because the next time the umiak met rough ice, the sea would remember. An elder woman, her hair braided with tiny beads that glint in the pale sun, leans over the hull, testing a seam with her thumb. "Tight," she says. "Good work." Her voice carries authority, born from decades of knowing exactly how boats fail. She looks at you briefly, nods once, and that's all the approval you'll get. Around you, people laugh and talk as they rub oil onto the hide, sealing it against the salt and cold. Children dart in to help, giggling as they smear grease like war paint on their cheeks. The smell of tallow fills the air, heavy and comforting. Someone hums an old tune, one of those wordless melodies that folds easily into the rhythm of work. You catch yourself swaying to it without realizing. There's no rush here. Each motion is deliberate, each task passed from one pair of hands to the next like a living conversation. A younger man beside you explains, "Every time we fix a boat, we fix a memory." You raise an eyebrow, waiting. He grins, "Because someone will always tell a story while we work." And sure enough, the elder woman begins one now, about a storm decades ago, when a whale struck their umiak mid-hunt. The crew nearly drowned, she says, but the oldest man on board used his parka hood to patch the split mid-sea. You can't help laughing. "That actually worked?" She nods solemnly. "He was wearing it at the time." That's your quirky tidbit for the section. Historical records mention hunters using everything from spare clothing to frozen fish skins for emergency repairs during hunts. Sometimes the patches froze solid long enough to hold until shore. Arctic ingenuity didn't stop for dignity. The community keeps working, and you start to see the deeper pattern. Repair here isn't about fixing something broken, it's about proving their relationship still holds. The umiak isn't a tool, it's a trust exercise that floats. You can sense the reverence in every touch, every inspection. People speak softly, as if afraid to wake the spirit sleeping beneath the skin. A young boy asks when the boat will sail again. "Tomorrow, if the ice listens." That phrase, "if the ice listens," sticks in your head. Everything here seems built on negotiation, between people and sea, between cold and flame, between generations. Later,
As the group finishes oiling the seams, the elder from the workshop steps forward. He sets a carved bone charm inside the hull near the bow, a small figure with wide eyes. For luck, he says, or at least for company. Historians still argue whether such charms were purely symbolic or if they served practical purposes, like indicating the front of a boat or representing ownership. Either way, you can feel how serious the moment is. The group quiets, and for a few breaths, the only sound is the slow slap of waves against ice. Then someone sneezes loudly, and the spell breaks. Laughter ripples through the crowd, easy and genuine. The work resumes. You notice how no single person takes charge for long. Leadership passes fluidly. One moment the elder woman directs, the next a younger hunter corrects a knot. Everyone teaches, everyone learns. It's democracy by habit, not decree. If you squint, you can see how survival itself becomes a kind of politics, a cooperative system built on shared consequence. See, the sea doesn't care who you are, only whether you can work together, the elder murmurs beside you. You nod and watch as the final coat of oil gleams under the light. The umiak looks renewed, though it's really just the same boat with more memories stitched in. Maybe that's true for people too. A pot of something rich and savory boils nearby, seal stew, thick with fat. Someone ladles you a portion and you blow gently on it before taking a sip. It tastes of salt, smoke, and gratitude. A child asks if you're staying to help lunch tomorrow, and you say yes without thinking. The elder grins, clearly pleased. As the day fades, the villagers drift home one by one. The umiak sits alone on the beach now, gleaming in the long twilight. You stay a while longer, the warmth from the stew lingering in your chest. The tide inches closer, lapping against the sand. Somewhere behind you, laughter echoes, soft and human, against the vastness. You think back to your own world, one full of deadlines and screens and quick fixes. Here, repair feels slow on purpose. It demands attention, humility. There's no shortcut, no app to simulate patience. Maybe that's why it feels so satisfying. You did something that took time. The elder comes to stand beside you, his breath visible in the cooling air. It's good work, he says simply. Tomorrow we thank the sea. You ask how? By trusting it again, he replies. You can't tell if he's joking, but there's that same glint in his eye, the one that always means he's saying more than he admits. You smile anyway. Above you, the aurora stirs faintly, pale ribbons unfurling like breath on glass. The umiak gleams beneath it, patient, waiting. The waves whisper softly around its edges, as though checking the repairs themselves. You listen, and for a fleeting second, you imagine you can hear it sigh. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks twice, then falls silent. The village quiets. You stand there until the cold finally nudges you toward shelter. Behind you, the umiak rests, whole again, not because it was mended, but because people remembered how to care for it together. As you walk back through the snow, the elder's words echo in your mind, not by force, but by listening. And maybe that's the secret. Every community, every craft, every life eventually needs its quiet repair.
The wind wakes before you do. It prowls around the huts, snatching at sealskin flaps, teasing ropes until they hum like taut strings. By the time you step outside, it's no longer wind, it's intention. The horizon is a blur of gray and moving snow, The kind of morning that smells like change. Down by the shore, the umiak waits. Its skin gleams with yesterday's oil, catching what little light filters through the thickening clouds. The crew gathers one by one, hoods pulled tight, faces red from cold, laughter sharper than usual. Even in this weather, the ritual must continue. Repairs mean nothing if the boat isn't tested. You join them, your boots crunching against the snow-crusted sand. The elder nods at you. "Good," he says. "You'll see how she behaves when she's nervous." The words sound like a joke, but the way he looks at the umiak tells you otherwise. They always talk about boats like people here. Temperamental, brave, sometimes foolish. The ocean demands personality, or maybe it grants it. You help push. The umiak slides reluctantly, bumping over ice ridges until it kisses the water. The sound is both gentle and immense, like glass flexing. The sea looks flat, but you can feel the movement beneath, a slow pulse, steady and cold. The crew climbs in. You follow. The moment the hull lifts, you sense it, that trembling balance between trust and uncertainty. For the first few minutes, everything goes smoothly. The paddles dip and rise in rhythm, the water hissing softly. The repaired seam holds, tight and true. You almost let yourself relax. Then, without warning, the wind shifts. It doesn't roar, it shoves. The umiak tilts, slapping against a slab of floating ice. Someone curses under their breath. Another laughs, because what else can you do? Spray hits your face like shards of glass. The air smells of salt and adrenaline. And then you see it. A small crack forming along a seam near the bow, the one that looked perfect yesterday. It's nothing dramatic, just a hairline gap where the water beads and glimmers. But here, even a whisper of a leak is loud. The elder spots it too. "Hold steady," he calls. The paddlers brace while he leans forward, pressing a gloved thumb against the crack. You can see the tension in his shoulders, the measured calm of someone who's seen worse. "She's only testing us," he mutters. That's your historical fact for this section. Even with meticulous craftsmanship, Inuit boats often required in-field repairs mid-hunt or mid-journey. Crews carried spare sinew, bone needles, and patches of skin in small waterproof bags. The sea was unpredictable, and the ability to mend under pressure was as vital as knowing how to steer. The elder reaches into a pouch and pulls out a folded strip of dried seal hide. With practiced speed, he softens it in his mouth. Yes, in his mouth, warming it until it's pliable. Then he presses it over the crack, lashes it down with sinew, and coats it with a smear of seal oil from a small vial. You can't help watching, fascinated and slightly horrified. "That's unsanitary," you say before you can stop yourself. He grins. "It's not a dinner plate." The crew laughs, and the tension eases a little. The patch holds, water stops seeping through. You exhale, realizing only then how tightly you've been gripping the gunwale. There's your quirky tidbit for this section. Many traditional Inuit repairs involved mouth-softening materials, hide, sinew, or gut, since there was no warm water available in freezing conditions. Human saliva, surprisingly, was an effective way to restore flexibility to dried organic materials in freezing conditions. So yes, sometimes survival meant chewing your toolkit. The wind keeps rising, though. The sky narrows to a slit of pale light between dark clouds. You paddle anyway, the rhythm steadying you. The elder hums under his breath, a low, unbothered tune that feels older than the sea. After a while, you reach a patch of calm water behind a ridge of ice. The group pauses to rest. Steam curls from mouths and hoods. No one speaks for a moment. It's not silence exactly, more a collective exhale. You feel your heartbeat settle, the world narrowing to the soft creak of hide and wood. Then the elder breaks it. "She did well," he says, patting the boat's side. She warned us early. You glance at him. Warned you? He nods. Better a whisper now than a scream later. Historians still argue whether Inuit boat builders genuinely believed their vessels possessed spirits, or whether it was simply metaphor, a way to teach respect for the tools of survival. But in that moment, watching the elder thank the umiak with a small bow, it doesn't feel symbolic. It feels conversational. You head back toward shore, muscles aching, lungs burning. The journey isn't long, but it's enough to remind you that every success here balances on the edge of loss. The sea is patient, but not kind. When you land, the entire village meets you. Children cheer, though they don't know what happened out there. The elder lifts his hands and says simply, "She's strong." That's all anyone needs to hear. The crowd disperses like snow in the wind. You stay behind, kneeling beside the patched seam. The hide is already stiffening in the cold, blending into the rest of the hull. You trace the repair with your glove, half expecting to feel warmth beneath. The elder joins you, crouches low. Every break teaches something. Every fix adds memory. You nod. And if she breaks again? He smiles faintly. Then we fix her again, or we learn to swim. You can't tell if he's serious, but you don't ask. The way he looks at the horizon suggests both options are valid. Later that night, the wind hasn't stopped. It howls across the roofs like a restless animal. Inside your hut, the fire flickers low. You can hear distant laughter from another shelter, muffled but warm. It's strange. After the chaos on the water, the storm song feels almost comforting, predictable. You think about the crack, the quick fix, the elder's calm. The sea tested the boat, and by extension the people, and they passed. Barely, but that's enough. Before sleep, you find yourself whispering a quiet thank you to the umiak, to the sinew, to the hands that taught you how to listen when things start to break. Maybe you think that's the real craft here, not building or repairing, but hearing the warning signs before the split grows wide. Somewhere outside, the elder's voice drifts faintly through the wind, singing a tune that sounds like the rhythm of paddles. The sea hums in reply, low and endless. And for now, everything holds.
By the time the next thought arrives, the sea looks softer, almost forgiving. The snow turns slushy underfoot, and the ice edges crumble into a slush that hisses when it touches salt water. You watch the younger hunters haul the umiak up onto the beach again. The winter storms have passed, but they've left their marks. Small tears, worn seams, a few ribs bent slightly out of shape. Nothing fatal, just reminders that survival is never maintenance-free. But this time, when the repairs begin, you notice something different. One of the young men opens a canvas bag, and instead of bone tools or sinew, he pulls out gleaming bits of metal, nails, bolts, and a small hammer. You can almost hear the elder's sigh before it leaves his mouth. "That's new," you murmur. The young man grins. "Traded for them last summer. The traders say they last longer than sinew." He picks up a nail, turning it between his fingers. It looks out of place in the Arctic light, too shiny, too modern. The elder leans closer. "Longer, maybe," he says, "but not better." That tension, that tug between the old and the new, is the first true lesson of this section. The 19th and 20th centuries brought a wave of outside materials to the Arctic: iron, steel, canvas, even plywood. The Inuit, ever practical, adopted what worked and ignored what didn't. Tradition wasn't a museum, it was a toolkit. Still, there's something uneasy about it. The hammer's rhythm is sharper than the soft pull of sinew. Every strike feels too loud for this quiet world. The sound ricochets off the ice and fades into the sea, where it seems to dissolve reluctantly. "Careful," the elder says after a few minutes. "She doesn't like to be forced." The young man pauses. wipes his brow and nods, but keeps going. A bead of sweat slides down his temple despite the chill. "The traders say this is progress," he mutters. "Progress doesn't have to sound like breaking bones," the elder replies dryly. That's your historical fact here. Many Arctic communities blended imported materials with traditional craftsmanship, creating hybrid umiaks that combined metal fastenings with hide or canvas coverings. It made repairs faster, but sometimes less flexible. A boat with nails could split more easily under stress because metal doesn't forgive like sinew does. You help hold a rib steady as the young man hammers. The vibration buzzes up your arm. You can't help thinking how strange it is, this collision of worlds, one echoing with centuries of whispers, the other thudding with iron certainty. Later, during a break, the elder shows you something quietly rebellious. From his parka pocket, he pulls out a curved bone needle, polished, perfect. "Still works," he says, smiling faintly. "Always will." You turn it over in your hand. "You ever think about using both?" He shrugs. "We do, but you have to know which job needs which hand." That, in a way, feels like the heart of adaptation, knowing when to change and when to stay still. Your quirky tidbit for this section: in the early 1900s, some Inuit crafters repurposed pieces of shipwrecked vessels into their boats, using copper nails, brass fittings, and even bits of piano wire. It wasn't just about convenience. There was fascination, even humor, in giving foreign materials a new Arctic life. Imagine a whaling umiak stitched with music wire, humming faintly when the wind passed over it. By afternoon, the young men finish their repairs. The umiak gleams faintly where the new nails catch the light. You half expect the elder to scold them, but instead, he simply runs his hand along the edge and says, "If she floats, she's still one of us." That night, the two of you sit outside, sipping broth from a shared pot. The wind is gentle for once, the stars bright enough to make the snow glitter. The elder pokes the fire with a stick. "You see what they're doing?" he says. "They're making their own ways. That's good. We did the same." You nod. "But it's different now. The world's smaller." He chuckles. "The sea's the same size. People just forget to measure it properly." There's silence after that. Comfortable, slow. The kind that stretches between generations without breaking. You can hear the umiak creak softly on its stand, as if adjusting to its new metal bones. Historians still argue whether modernization diluted or preserved Inuit maritime traditions. Some say metal tools eroded cultural knowledge. Others believe adaptation was proof of its strength. The truth, as usual, probably floats somewhere in between. The elder breaks your thoughts with a small laugh. "When I was young, someone told me that the metal boats from the south never need fixing." "And?" you ask. He smirks. "They sink faster." You both laugh, quietly, because sound travels far out here. The stars shimmer in the reflection of the half-frozen sea. Somewhere, a dog barks once, then twice, then gives up. You think about progress, the kind that promises convenience, efficiency, permanence. But out here, permanence isn't the goal. Everything is temporary, and that's the point. A boat is meant to bend, a seam to flex, a life to adapt. Maybe that's what the traders never understood. Fragility isn't failure, it's fluency. Before heading inside, you walk over to the umiak again. You run your hand over the seam where wood meets hide, hide meets nail. It feels wrong and right at the same time. The wind catches the edge of the hull and it hums faintly, half sinew, half steel, half ghost. Tomorrow, the younger hunters will test it. The elder will watch from the shore. And you'll watch both, the old man and the new generation, as they share the same horizon, each convinced they're steering toward the future. You wonder which one is right. Then again, maybe that's not the point. As you turn back toward your hut, the aurora flickers awake, brushing the sky in green and violet. It doesn't care what the boats are made of. It's been watching longer than anyone. You stop for a moment, listening to the faint sound of the umiak settling against the sand, its new nails ticking quietly as they cool. Progress hums, tradition breathes, and somewhere in between them, life just keeps floating.
By now, you've spent so long among these people that the rhythm of their days feels like your own heartbeat. You know when the tide will rise by the smell in the air, when the dogs will bark before a storm, when someone is about to laugh before the sound even reaches you. But tonight, as you sit in the dim glow of the communal lamp, the conversation takes a turn you didn't expect. It becomes history itself talking. The younger hunters gather around the elder like children around a campfire, and you find yourself leaning in too. Someone has brought up a question that never seems to rest. Where did we learn to build boats like these? The elder exhales, the sound as long and tired as the sea. Always from the sea itself, he says. But you mean who else taught us? That's where your mainstream historical fact begins. Scholars have long debated the origins of Inuit watercraft, especially the umiak and kayak. Some suggest these designs evolved entirely in isolation, born from necessity and shaped by Arctic conditions. Others argue they share distant ancestry with Siberian or even Norse influences, brought over by contact, trade, or migration. The younger hunters argue among themselves, laughing. One insists that Norse explorers must have borrowed from the Inuit, not the other way around. How else would they survive up here, he says. Another counters, maybe everyone just figured it out. The sea teaches the same lessons everywhere. The elder smiles, stirring the lamp flame with a thin stick. Historians still argue about that, he murmurs, and the sea still doesn't care. You chuckle quietly, so no one really knows. He shrugs. Knowledge is like ice. It shifts when you step on it. It's a poetic answer, but it holds truth. Archaeologists have found umiak-like vessels dating back hundreds of years before European contact, their structure almost unchanged from those still used in the 19th century. That kind of consistency isn't accident. It's mastery, refined by environment, not by empire. Still, the debates get lively. Someone asks whether early Inuit might have traded ideas with the Chukchi or Yupik peoples across the Bering Strait. Another swears that Norse shipbuilders must have seen an umiak once and copied its flexibility for lighter coastal craft. The elder just listens, smiling into the fire like someone who knows both sides are right in their own way. Your quirky tidbit for this section: one 19th century explorer swore he found an umiak with a carved dragon's head at the bow. Clearly inspired, he claimed, by Viking ships. Later researchers dismissed the story as embellishment, but no one ever found that boat again. Whether it was myth, mischief, or truth half frozen into legend, it lingers, a footnote carved in snow. The talk drifts from speculation to philosophy. If we built like the Norse, why didn't we use iron nails like they did? He didn't even look up, because we had no trees big enough to waste. Everyone laughs, but then he adds softly, and because we didn't need them, we already had something better, our patience. You can't help thinking of that as a quiet thesis statement for the entire Arctic. Everywhere else, history is told in battles and inventions, but here it's told in endurance, in knowing how long to chew sinew before it softens, in the exact angle to thread hide so it tightens without tearing. That's innovation too. It just doesn't clang or sparkle. Someone else pipes up. Historians say we learned boat building from Siberia. The elder nods. Maybe, but I've never been to Siberia, and I still learned.
That earns a ripple of laughter. The lamp flame flickers higher, shadows waltzing across the curved walls. You realize for these people, the question isn't who invented the umiak, it's who kept it alive. Later, the conversation turns to how knowledge travels now. The younger hunters mentioned YouTube videos of kayak building, tourist museums displaying authentic umiaks, and online forums where strangers argue about lash angles. You imagine somewhere, in a bright apartment far from this ice, someone is trying to recreate a boat without ever feeling the bite of Arctic wind. The elder shakes his head amused. They can build the shape, but they can't build the silence. Historians still argue whether the old methods should be preserved for culture or adapted for function. But sitting here, the air warm with lamp oil and laughter, you understand it's not either or. The act of remembering itself is a kind of repair, one that needs no nails at all. You step outside for a moment to cool your face. The night is sharp, endless. The aurora unfurls above like a memory in motion. You imagine the first Inuit builders looking up at the same light, their hands slick with oil, wondering if their boats would hold. You imagine the Norse ships out there somewhere, wood creaking under frost, perhaps catching a glimpse of an umiak skimming over black water, and thinking, maybe there's another way to float. Back inside, someone is teasing the elder again. If the Norse learned from us, why don't their boats still use skin? He laughs. Maybe their hands got too soft. The group roars with laughter, and you can't help joining in. Humor, it seems, has been the same for centuries, a pressure valve in the face of mystery. Eventually, the conversation winds down. People yawn, stretch, pull on mittens. Someone stokes the lamp one last time before blowing it out, the smoke curling like a sigh. The darkness settles thickly, soft and reassuring. You lie back, staring at the curved ceiling, listening to the muffled breathing of others. Your thoughts drift. Boats, bones, metal, myths. Maybe all history is just repair work anyway, patching together fragments to keep a story afloat. You think of that missing umiak with the dragon's head, lost somewhere beneath the ice, half real and half dream. Before sleep claims you, the elder's last words echo faintly in your mind. We build with what we have, we remember what we lose, and if we're lucky, both float long enough to meet again. Outside, the wind picks up, carrying laughter and the hiss of the tide. The sea doesn't care about debates or diagrams. It only cares whether you're listening.
When you wake, it's to the sound of the sea sighing against the ice. You're not sure how long you've slept. Time here doesn't march. It drifts. The repair hut still smells faintly of seal oil and smoke, and you can almost hear the echoes of last night's laughter dissolving into the cold. You stretch, shake off the frost from your parka, and step outside into a world that looks unchanged for 1,000 years. The sky is soft gray, the kind that blurs horizon for motion. Out there, you see the umiaks drawn up along the shore, resting on their bellies like sleeping seals. Their skins, taut and gleaming, hold scars of countless repairs, patches of lighter hide, seams of sinew darkened by years of salt spray. You walk among them, running your fingers over one. It feels alive, warm from the memory of hands that built it. That's when you realize something subtle but powerful. These ancient techniques never really vanished. They just shifted, hiding in plain sight beneath the surface of modern tools. You see it in the way Arctic engineers now design flexible hulls for ice navigation, mimicking the umiak's give. You see it in kayak companies that still honor the Inuit proportions, long, narrow, sleek, perfected without rulers or nails. Even aerospace engineers have studied the skin-on-frame design for inspiration in lightweight structures. That's your mainstream historical fact tonight. Inuit innovations in watercraft, especially the kayak, directly influence modern naval architecture and material science. It's not romanticism, it's documented fact.
Early 20th century designers borrowed from Inuit frame geometry to build faster rescue boats, even before fiberglass existed. One historian called it indigenous aerodynamics, which sounds fancy, but really it just means they figured it out first. As you walk, the wind stiffens, carrying flakes of salt and snow that sting your cheeks. You pull your hood tighter and keep moving. Each umiak you pass tells a story. One patched with walrus hide, another stitched with synthetic thread. Old meets new, tradition whispering beneath technology's hum. You reach the newest vessel, a sleek research kayak painted bright orange. On its side, a decal reads, Inuit Heritage Design. The irony isn't lost on you. Somewhere in a factory far to the south, machines built this craft by the thousands, each one stamped with words that once meant survival, not branding. Still, it's progress, and you can't deny the quiet beauty of it, the echo of old methods and new materials. There's a young woman standing nearby, tightening straps on her dry suit. She's part of a research team studying sea ice melt, but her ancestors built umiaks right here generations ago. She notices your gaze and smiles. You know, she says, my grandfather still fixes his kayak with sinew. Says epoxy smells wrong. You laugh softly. Does it work? Every time, she says. He says the sinew remembers the shape of the boat. That's your quirky tidbit. Some Inuit elders truly believe sinew and sealskin carry a kind of memory, a muscle-like intelligence that adjusts to stress and water temperature. Whether it's spiritual, practical, or just poetic truth, no one really knows. Scientists studying biomaterials have even tested this theory, finding that certain natural fibers do respond dynamically to moisture and cold. Maybe the old man wasn't wrong, just early. You watch her. She kneels by her kayak, checking seams. She uses a small titanium needle, but the motion, the rhythm of repair, is exactly what you saw in the elder's hands last night. Thread through hole, pull tight, tie off. She hums under her breath, an old melody that you recognize without knowing how. Historians still argue whether this blending of old and new is preservation or appropriation. Some say modern industries exploit indigenous innovation without credit. Others believe it's proof of cultural resilience, that ideas survive even when languages fade. The debate keeps going, like tides against ice. But here, standing beside her, it doesn't feel like an argument at all. It feels like continuity. You can almost hear time breathing through the seams of these boats. She tells you about her work with the university, using LiDAR scans to digitally preserve umiak blueprints. We're making 3D models of boats that don't exist anymore. When the wood and hide are gone, at least the pattern stays. You imagine that, the ghost of a boat floating forever in data. It's strangely fitting. The Inuit built vessels to glide between water and air, between worlds. Now their descendants build digital ones to glide between centuries. As she launches her kayak, the water slaps against its sides and the sound echoes across the bay. You stand there listening, realizing that even this noise, the splash, the stretch of skin, is a kind of inheritance. The air smells of salt, diesel, and something older, something wild. You remember what the elder said, we build with what we have. That principle is alive here too. Solar-powered heaters, modern dry suits, GPS beacons, but the bones of the idea haven't changed. They still build with patience, precision, and an understanding of materials most people overlook. You walk farther along the shore towards a small museum built from repurposed driftwood and corrugated steel. Inside, displays show the evolution of Inuit boat-making, a split whaler rib beside a carbon fiber strut, a sealskin next to polymer fabric. There's even a cross-section showing how the tension of skin distributes force, something 3D modeling only recently caught up with. One placard reads, "Innovation born from constraint." You nod. That's the story of the Arctic, and maybe of humanity itself. You don't innovate because you want to. You innovate because the sea doesn't give you a choice.
You linger before a display showing faded photographs from the 1800s. Inuit whalers hauling a patched umiak across ice, faces stoic and determined. The caption says, "No metal, no nails, no problem." You smile despite yourself. It sounds like the tagline for a minimalist tech startup, but it's really a declaration of identity. Outside again, the wind has calmed. The young researcher is a small dot on the horizon now, her kayak slicing cleanly through the water. You imagine her elder watching her, proud and amused, knowing the world moves forward only by remembering where it began. As the sun dips low, the ice glows blue and gold. You take one last look at the row of umiaks, old, new, and hybrid, and realize that nothing built by human hands ever truly disappears. It just changes shape, glides under new names, wears modern skins. The air is so still you can hear your heartbeat. You think about how long these designs have floated, how many stories they've carried. Somewhere, buried beneath the frozen seabed, ancient frames sleep. Driftwood turned to stone, sinew to dust. But their pattern endures, whispered forward by hands that refuse to forget. The cold finally seeps through your gloves, urging you back to shelter. You turn once more toward the sea and whisper a thank you to the builders, the dreamers, and the boats that keep floating through time. Above you, a raven circles, black against the pale sky. It croaks once, as if approving. Maybe it knows something you don't, something about endurance or flight, or the way history loops back on itself like a tied sinew thread. You smile, pull your hood tight, and start walking.
You walk until your legs ache, following the shoreline where the ice thins into a mirror. The air grows quieter the farther you go, until even the crunch of your boots sounds too loud for this landscape. Ahead, the sea lies still, flat, silver, endless. And there, resting just above the waterline, is the last umiak. Its frame is older than anyone alive, the driftwood bleached white from years of salt and sun. The hides stretched across it are patchwork, walrus, seal, even a section of modern fabric stitched with sinew. It's not a museum piece, not yet. It's still used each spring when the whales return. You step closer, brushing snow from the gunwale, and for a moment you think you hear it breathe. You crouch beside it, feeling the seams with gloved fingers. Each repair tells a story, each stitch a compromise between fragility and hope. You imagine the first hands that shaped it, how they bent wood over fire, rubbed oil into hide, laced bone into place, and then the next generation's hands, and the next, each one leaving something of themselves behind. That's your historical fact here. Some umiaks were maintained for decades, even generations, their original framework surviving through careful repair and ritual maintenance. Ownership wasn't about possession, it was stewardship. Boats were inherited like stories. When a family moved or passed on, their umiak would sometimes be gifted to another, its name carried forward like a song. You step back, watching the sunlight slide along its hull. It looks fragile, almost absurd against the power of the Arctic Ocean. Yet it has endured storms, ice flows, and history's slow forgetting. You can't help thinking, it's still floating, and that's something most empires can't say. There's a quiet figure nearby, the same elder who told stories by the lamp. He sits on an overturned sled, wrapped in furs, watching the horizon. When he sees you, he nods slightly, like he's been expecting you. "You came to see the last one," he says softly. You nod, settling beside him. He traces the shape of the umiak in the air with one gloved finger. "My father said this boat has seen 3 kinds of water: salt, sweet and melting. Each one asks for different repairs. You smile. And which is the hardest to fix? He says, the melting. Always the melting. The wind stirs, lifting the edge of his hood. His face is carved with years of salt and sunlight, but his eyes gleam with humor. They say historians still argue whether our way was invention or survival, but maybe they're the same thing. You both sit in silence. The sea barely moves, the air heavy with that peculiar Arctic stillness, the kind that feels like the world holding its breath. Your quirky tidbit tonight. In some Inuit communities, it's said that boats have spirits, inua, just like people or animals. Before launching, builders would whisper a greeting or rub a bit of oil on the bow, an offering of gratitude. If the boat creaked approvingly, it was ready. If not, they'd wait. No one wanted to anger the inua of the umiak. It might sulk and leak out of spite. You run your hand along the hull again, half expecting a whisper back. It gives a low creak, like the sigh of something ancient. Maybe it's answering in its own way. The elder chuckles. She likes you, or she's laughing. Hard to tell with old things. A seabird cries overhead, circling lazily before gliding out to sea. The sound fades into the hush of waves lapping against the ice. The elder rises slowly, joints popping. He gestures to the horizon. That's where the whales will come soon. The young ones will take her out again. She still holds when the wind's right. You look back at the umiak, patched, weathered, stubbornly alive. It's amazing, you murmur. All this without a single nail. He grins, showing a flash of teeth. Metal bricks. Patience doesn't. You both laugh, and the laughter feels too loud for the quiet world around you. Then the laughter fades, replaced by something gentler. Gratitude, maybe, or just understanding. As the elder walks away, you stay behind, sitting beside the umiak as the light softens to dusk. You watch the sea breathe, slow and rhythmic, like a great heart under glass. Somewhere deep below, whales move through the dark, following the same routes they've taken for millennia. You imagine them hearing the hum of the umiak above, a familiar sound from an old friend. Historians still argue, you think, about origins, influence, authenticity. But here, none of that matters. What survives isn't certainty, it's motion. The boats move, the people move, the stories move. That's what keeps everything from freezing solid. You lean against the umiak, eyes half closed, and the world begins to blur. The cold doesn't bite anymore, it soothes. The wind smooths over your thoughts until they feel like ripples on still water. You breathe slower, matching the rhythm of the tide, matching the boat's faint creak as it settles in the snow. It's been a long journey, from sinew to steel, from ice to idea. And still, the same truth hums underneath it all. Survival is the art of repair. Now, as the night folds over the Arctic, everything softens. The wind gentles, brushing the snow in quiet strokes. The last umiak rests beside you like an old friend, its seams glistening faintly in the moonlight. You can feel the temperature drop, but it's a comfortable kind of cold, the kind that tucks you in rather than pushing you away. Your breathing slows, the sounds around you, distant waves, the groan of ice, the occasional crack far out on the horizon, become a kind of lullaby. You think about all the hands that once worked this same shore, mending boats, tying sinew, whispering to the sea. You can almost hear them now, laughter carried in the wind, patient voices counting the years like stitches. The umiak creaks again, a sound so small and so steady that it feels like the heartbeat of the world. You rest your hand on its side, and for a moment you imagine it floating, lifting gently from the snow, gliding across a sea of dreams. The stars shimmer overhead, faint and far, but countless, like sparks from a long-ago fire. Each one, maybe, is a memory of someone who built something that lasted. You exhale slowly, and the breath leaves you in a white cloud that drifts away, joining the mist that curls above the frozen sea. Everything is quiet now. The ice, the wind, even your thoughts. You are safe. The story has been repaired. The journey floats. Sleep well, traveler. You've earned it.